stakes are high and needs are more complex when running an established consumer products brand. You've got mounting pressures across multi-channel sales, complex supply chains, inventory across multiple warehouses, and leadership needs fast, accurate data to make decisions. That's why leading brands partner with Baker Tilly, an accounting firm that specializes in the consumer product space. Their team understands the unique challenges of scaling product-based businesses, whether it's navigating transactions confidently, sales tax compliance, integrating ERP systems like NetSuite, or predictive analytics. Baker Tilly delivers. Discover how Baker Tilly's industry-focused services can help elevate your business. Visit bakertilly.com.
Well, I just wanted to thank you so much for coming. Welcome back, everybody, to Retail War Games today. I'm Cassie, Jen's here, and we are excited to welcome you, Damian, from Creatably. And tell us about yourself, all of the above.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I think you guys are doing just incredible things in the retail space. I've been making films for almost 30 years, and TV, video, and children's shows, and everything in between. And Creatably was started in 2017, and I joined Jay Davis, who was the founder, as one of the first partners. And we realized there was a unique opportunity with advertising happening on social media. Everybody in the world wants to do a Super Bowl campaign. There's 123 million viewers, and it costs you $7 million just to buy the time, which comes out to about 5.5 cents per view. And what we discovered on social media is the Super Bowl doesn't care whether your commercial is good or not. Everybody pays $7 million. On social media, if I have a good commercial, I actually pay less for it. I pay less for my time, less for my eyeballs, and if my commercial is boring, you're going to pay more. Or if I decide to target people, I'm going to pay more. So we kind of found there was this opportunity to create funny, interesting commercials and help brands grow really quickly. And there's kind of so we helped a lot of brands grow, and then Jay said, well, let's grow some of our own brands. And he had an idea he'd been working on for a while, which was a pillow for side sleepers called the Pillow Cube. So we did a Kickstarter first for Pillow Cube. We filmed it all with employees, filmed it in our office. And that was almost 5 years ago now, and that commercial's still running. But our first year, we did about $300,000 in pre-sales before we delivered the first pillow. Then the next year we did about $3 million, and then the next year was about $30 million. And so it was just it was a rocket ship. And so now Jay kind of we now have a number of different brands, and Jay runs those brands, and they each have brand managers. And I stayed with Creatably. Creative was my first love, and we kind of have a saying around the office. Our goal with Creative is not to move the needle, but to try to move decimal points for brands. And we started out with direct-to-consumer brands, but more and more we're finding you can't just stay on Shopify or stay on Amazon. You need to go omni-channel as soon as you can. You need to find multiple revenue. If you've got a great product, you need to find multiple revenue sources, and you can't just stick with just one. But along with that comes expertise. They need people like you guys that can help them navigate those tricky waters.
It sounds like you've had an amazing career so far. At what point did you know that that's what you wanted to do, or that you're a creative thinker and that you should be in a area like this?
Well, there's the point when I decided to do these type of commercials, but deciding to get into film was different. I went to BYU. I was in the same year as Jared Hess. So a lot of filmmaking was happening. I, on the other hand, was going to go to medical school,
really?
Had taken the MCATs. Yeah. I decided I was going to be a creative after about a year of doing cancer research, and I was writing. I considered myself a pretty good writer, and I was writing my essays on why I wanted to go to each school, and I realized I couldn't write a good essay because I didn't have a good answer, and I felt like I kind of came here to do something with my creativity. And after doing production for a couple decades, and I saw that everybody had a video camera on their phone, I realized that video production in and of itself was going to become a commodity. And it really has been. Like, everybody can make commercials now, and really needed something to differentiate. And that's when I started getting into the strategy and seeing where video skills can become a force multiplier for your brand. Prior to Creatably, Jay had helped grow some other brands using video. So he kind of came to Creatably with the entrepreneurial mindset, and I kind of came with a creative mindset, but I'd been doing marketing consulting for a number of years and letting people see how you can really leverage an inexpensive video to make a lot of money. And then we found that you can use an expensive video to make even more money. But Ben Perkins from AnCaller said, your videos would be really expensive if they didn't work so well. And we've loved working with their brand, but watch them move from 6 figures to 7 figures to 8 figures has been really exciting.
Yeah. That would be
We love
cool.
AnCaller. I'm always rooting for them for sure too.
How cool to see like such young brands just take off and know that you were part of a big reason, and are you still working with a lot of these younger brands that now are developing into bigger brands?
We're definitely friends with all of them. I mean, there's a point in every reality show when somebody says, I'm not here to make friends, and I believe the opposite. Unlike most agencies, though, we don't do long contracts as far as agency of record. We've done 4 or 5 projects with AnCaller, text and chat with Ben regularly, but we're not in a contractual relationship right now doing any work with them, but root with them, pull for them. I personally have invested in AnCaller.
Cool.
I think I'm wearing their stuff.
Are you?
4
That's
out of 5
awesome.
days of the week, so
That's cool.
I love AnCaller, but they're not the only clothing brand we've worked with, and it is fun building the relationships with people and knowing them when they're just getting started and seeing them have success. And our CEO right now, he said, part of what's so exciting about what we do, and I think you see the same thing too, is when you see people start something in a garage and you see them have success, and that's almost the purest form of the American dream. Somebody that can take their own idea and turn it into something. And more we see people from other countries that have moved here because and I sometimes say that some of our immigrant population are the best Americans because they appreciate the freedoms that they didn't have elsewhere. And we have clients from Belarus and from Russia and from Turkey who are just so excited to be in America because they're like, I can make a business here. And in the country I come from, it could be taken away or there was too many restrictions. So it's really exciting.
That is really cool.
I think this is so amazing. I want to backtrack just a little bit because there's so many golden nuggets in
I'm like,
everything that you're saying.
This is going too fast.
This is
Sorry,
so
I'll answer
great.
one question at a time. I'm sorry. I talked too
I
much.
love it. I'm like, just spill all of it. But truthfully, I would love to know, and this might be a little silly to jump. In the beginning, how did you know that you wanted to do this? Like you said, you wanted to be creative, you wanted to do this, but how did you know you wanted to specifically be D2C? Like, what was that like? How did you know that was the trick of the trade?
I was making commercials for anybody and anything for a long time. And when I had a production company, we would. And it was when I noticed the type of commercials that were working on social media. And I had done some of my own, and I had some flops as well. And you learn a lot from those. And I think that's the important thing, that you're always learning from your successes and your failures. Luck plays a part, timing plays a part. My first success I had making social media commercials was actually for a local film where I saw a trailer. I was able to get it for a penny a view, where a commercial to come see it on opening weekend was like 7 cents a view. And that was when the lights started going on. And I saw some of the great work that was being done here in Utah for big brands. And I created a formula that I say, hey, you don't have to have all of these features, but for a long-form social media campaign to work, a company has what I call the 5 Ds. And we kind of rate them, and it gives us a sense of whether they'll be successful or not using one of our campaigns. And one of those Ds is a high amount of deliverability, that I can connect the commercial to the sale early on, which matters because as a marketer, there's a million things you can spend your money on. And so to be able to know what's working so you can double down on that and do that again and again, it makes a big difference. And so that was one of the things that was really important, is out of those 5 Ds was the deliverability.
Wow.
That is so interesting to me, and just someone from who's done it for so long and knows the tricks of the trade is really amazing. I would love to just point out something that you said that I think all brands and retailers too, all of us need to remember, is learning from those failures. That's something that's like we're never wanting to learn from those moments,
Right.
and it's hard. But I think that that's something, even with your expertise, to hear you say that gives the rest of us some hope. I'll just I appreciate you saying that.
Listen, the greatest entrepreneurs I know have and are continually failing, and those that haven't had any failures are just really lucky. And I think it was in one of Malcolm Gladwell's books, he talks about surgeons that have the best success rates with new procedures are surgeons that met with their team after each procedure and like, okay, how did we do it? So we do that after we film every commercial, after we launch every commercial, we look at the data. What did we learn? What went well? What didn't go well? And how can we improve? And so we try to control. We consider ourselves a little bit of a mad scientists, a little bit of mad scientists. We try to control the variables. But one of the things about launching new products, there always is a variable. And what works online is the new, something that's disruptive, something that you haven't seen before. So there always needs to be something new, and so you have to be able to draw conclusions and hopefully the right ones, and test those conclusions and make sure you're right.
Well, how did you figure out the niche of funny? Because like we just had the Harmon brothers on, a couple, I guess it was last week maybe. But they were talking about the funny ads that they're known for, and you found that niche too, and it really worked. And is it still working, by the way? Like, I would love to know that, and I would love to know how you discovered that that's the sweet spot.
Oh, absolutely. And the Harmon brothers have done a lot of the pioneering work in this field of the long form. There's really only maybe 5 agencies in the country that do the long form funny ads, and 3 of them here in Utah.
Wow.
So we've done serious ads, and even one of the brands we've worked with here early on, we did a very serious ad for Owlet, and we did a very funny one. And the serious one, I am so proud of. It looks beautiful. It looks like an Apple ad, and I think it got around 700 views.
Okay. Yeah.
Whereas the funny, and the interesting thing is we're known for the funny ads, but you might be surprised to know that funny isn't our goal. It is a byproduct of we're trying to make the commercials fun so that they're engaging.
Yeah, outside of the box.
Yeah. So there was some research that we followed. So there was a group out of Salt Lake called Family Share that was part of Deseret Digital Media, and they had done a study about brand emotions and what drives brand behaviors. And they found a few interesting things, like charitable giving videos, for instance. Those have a really high share rate and a really low watch rate. So people are more interested to share, like, I'm a good person, I'll share this video, but I'm not going to watch it all the way through, and I'm probably not going to donate. Nostalgia has a high watch through rate and a high FOMO drives a lot of internet behaviors. And so we kind of look at these different emotions, and what we've found is humor is kind of the best way to introduce a difficult topic or to make you look at things differently. If you want to start an argument, you're like, well, you're wrong about this. But if you make a joke about something and it's not attacking anybody, I feel like people sit back and relax a little bit more. And there's so much argument happening on social media.
So true.
That we don't have to be hilariously funny. We just have to be more entertaining than the argument you're having.
Right.
Right? And that feels refreshing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And so we use second by second watch data as we're reviewing our ads before they even launch. We look at second by second what people are watching and keep what people are losing. And some things that make a movie gritting and entertaining on social media just don't work. So yes, a lot of our commercials have a lot of jokes. We have a lot of joke density, but they're also brightly lit, because that also, we've done lighting tests, and you see some things that I think are hilarious or funny for me, but they don't make great commercials. So it's not purely funny.
What about like the colors? Do you focus on like bright colors? You're talking about lighting. Is there certain little tips and tricks psychologically that we could include? I don't know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think one thing to remember, a lot of people making commercials are frustrated filmmakers.
Oh, wow.
And you want their talent, but you need to work with filmmakers that understand that they're making commercials. So 80% of social media commercials are being watched on phones. So your screen's smaller. So we have found like a dark image doesn't perform well, with the exception of like a male demographic 18 to 24 around the Halloween that might think it's a horror movie. That's the only demographic, but we can lose, in 3 seconds, lose 15% of our viewers with a dark opening. So we like, more importantly than it being bright, the image needs to be clear and understandable. You've probably had a moment in the last year when you've been watching a movie at home and you're like, I can't tell what's going on. And that's the fastest way to lose viewers. Just like with a podcast, bad audio is the fastest way to lose listener. They don't care that it's deep basses. They just care that they can understand what you're saying. So we will often use brand colors that are consistent with the brand, so that you're seeing the brand colors and reinforcing some of those ideas. Yeah, making those connections. But most important is clarity of image, that you can see what's happening and understand what's going on. People here's a couple weird things we found. People love seeing white kitchens. A lot of things are set in white kitchens. That tests very well. People love to engage with jokes about tacos. If you have mentioned tacos in your commercial.
I love this. Okay.
And then we also have another thing, we call it debate bait, which is have at least one thing slightly off in your commercial that will drive comments not related to your product.
Oh, that's interesting.
I've seen a lot of people actually use that tactic recently of just like something random or something just a hair off. And it does like drive so much. That's
Yeah,
Give me an
interesting.
example, because this is super interesting to me.
Yeah, so we stumbled upon it, but then we've seen other people. So I told you about our first Pillow Cube commercial. The spokesperson was one of our writers, directors, Ian Hawks, who's now making films. And he was wearing his work clothes that day, and he was wearing Birkenstocks and sandals. And so that drove so many
You mean
comments.
Birkenstocks and socks?
Yeah, she's Birkenstocks
Yeah.
and socks. That's what I meant.
Yeah, no.
And that was 5 years ago, and it wasn't as common, but still, socks and sandals is
Right.
debatable.
Faux
It's
pas.
like, I
Maybe
can't
not
believe your
anymore.
spokesperson is wearing socks and sandals, and it doesn't relate to our product.
Yeah.
And then we made a joke about tacos, and people want to talk about what's a real taco and what, because the emoji for taco looks like a crispy shell, which is not an authentic taco. And people like to have little
Yeah,
engaging
they do.
moments. And so
It's like
sometimes
those
even
Easter eggs, like Disney's so good at, and my kids are always like, "Oh, look, they found another Easter egg." Yeah.
there's a content creator who makes weird inventions, and that's his whole thing, is he comes up with dumb inventions. And he pointed it out, and that's what led us to do some studies too. He says he always does one mathematical equation wrong in his videos because people want to come in and correct him.
Wow.
So he's like, oh, there's 3 rows of 12 here, so that's 38. And it's just, you can't resist. And so it drives engagement.
That's so
So
cool.
you can't use that alone to make a good commercial.
Right.
But it's a little piece of the seasoning that helps drive people. And the more people you can get your commercial in front of, the more they ask for the brand.
That's so cool.
And that's what kind of drove our D2C brands to retail.
So interesting to me because it's so creative and thoughtful and strategic. Like this is just so cool to hear how you've thought through everything. So I've been like waiting to ask you this. How many commercials have you made? Because to have all of this information, and because it sounds like you have a meeting after every single launch, after every single thing you guys do, it just sounds incredible.
We've launched at the beginning of the year, we had done a count and we had launched over 100 campaigns. We hope by the end of this year we'll have another 50. So we've been growing.
Amazing.
Now those are campaigns. With each campaign, there's a number of assets with it. And often a campaign might have 30 plus assets going out with it. So sometimes they come with a series of cut downs or explainer videos or a sidekick video that goes alongside of it. So yeah, about 100. Well, probably closer to 125 today, maybe.
Okay.
that
What
are
are
out
some
in
of
wild.
the campaigns that were the funnest to work on, or that you guys will be most known for? People will know you.
They may probably most known for Pillow Cube. You know, 1 in 20 Americans now knows that brand,
Wow.
and so that's really well known. We did a campaign for Cold Case Ice Cream, and where we did a parody of the movie Seven, but we all used the biggest little people in Hollywood to recreate the scenes, and so it lived on the front page of Reddit for a couple of weeks, and so that was really great. That, but you know, I love campaigns that we've done for like Ann Caller during their growth phase. We told Thread Wallet's founding story.
Oh, cool.
And they said, what Colby said is, we gave them the worst September of their life and the best fourth quarter. But that's when they were going into their own retail shops and doing their own, and it helped them not only sell their product, but help people understand their why. I'm really proud of the spots we did early on for Owlet. Helping Gab launch in their early years was really great.
So cool.
And Alex MacArthur told me the other day that we did the Kickstarter for Kizzik when they were getting started, and that's what Nike saw that got them interested in investing in Kizzik. Now, they have a ton of great creatives there now and brand people, but it's really fun to be part, you know, to have people's success be a chapter in our story, or to be a chapter in their story, and then, you know, to have the friends there are really great.
It's very fulfilling to be able to see other people's success and even just think, oh my gosh, I played a little part in that and I'm so excited for them. Like, that's just, I completely get that.
Yeah.
I love to pick your brain on when a brand approaches you and what are you looking for from that brand to create the ad? You know, what are you pulling from them? What does the brand need to be aware of so that they can pull potentially and make their own ads?
So we are kind of a briefless agency. We don't pitch off the cuff, because you do need a lot for them. Part of my marketing philosophy comes from the poet Dolly Parton. I don't know if you're familiar with her work.
Love.
Of course.
Yeah.
My dog is named Dolly Partner because my little girl thought that's what her name was, but we love her.
Well, I don't know. She wrote Jolene and I Will Always Love You in the same afternoon, which blows me away.
She's talented.
I haven't written either of those songs ever. Well, she said, the secret to life is knowing who you are and doing it on purpose. And so when a client signs with us, we spend a day in what we call our strategy retreat, but it's really a combination of strategy, getting to know you, interrogation, and then brainstorming games.
Love it.
We're brainstorming a lot of stuff, but it's really understanding how we can position them. If your marketing is great, but it doesn't reflect who the brand really is, it will sink your brand. It will drive a lot of people to be dissatisfied. And I think you've seen that with movies before, when you're like, go in expecting one type of movie. Like, that was a great commercial, but they delivered a completely different type of movie than I was expecting.
Yeah.
So a big part of what we do is understanding and setting a horizon of expectations, and really getting to the bottom of what makes your product and your brand great, and what can we deliver at a high volume for people also. Sometimes they've just discovered something, but they can't produce it at scale yet, and so they need to be able. So we are looking for what makes them disruptive and different. And as funny as we like to think our commercials are, we think a lot about what makes their product demonstrable. We think about, I like to think that our generation, and maybe I should say people younger than me, I think of myself as younger than I am.
Oh, me too. You get to that age and you're like, I'm not old. They're old. And they're like the same age as you.
Yeah, but if you think about like ads that you see on TikTok and stuff that convinces you, I feel like our generation is immune to adjectives. You can't just say something's awesome, wonderful, and amazing. You've got to show me doing the thing that it does. And so we look for products and we think about, what are the 5 different ways we can show this product working? How can I see it? Because that gives me trust to walk in the store and see it on the shelf and know that it's going to work. I think we've grown up with a lot of false promises and as seen on TVs and things that show up that didn't work, where we really want, first of all, we have an expectation if it doesn't work the way it wants to, I'm taking it right back and I'm getting all my money back. Like in my childhood, that was rare, but now that's just kind of taken for granted. If it doesn't do exactly what you want it to do and what you've been promised, you're taking it right back. So we want to find ways that show it, that are powerful demonstrations, but they're also true. And that's an interesting line to walk, because you want them to be powerful, but you want to be clear on what that product doesn't do also.
I think that is just taking the time to actually, people say look at yourself in the mirror, but actually look at your brand. What are the core? Who are we going after? All of those things that you mentioned. I think that's really, really important to just know who you are at the end of the day. Yeah. And the things that I always look for is like what makes it unique. But I think the coolest piece and the word that you used was disruptive. Like not just unique, but actually like what is going to make the biggest and disrupt. Like really interesting.
We love products that say, like, big so-and-so hates you, but this is the old way of doing things is broken, and presenting it in such a way like, oh, yeah, it just totally makes sense. Yeah, why do we do things that way? This new way is way better. I don't think people want their lives disrupted. They just want them to be a little bit easier. And a lot of advertising, you asked me about funny earlier, a lot of agencies are focused on being cool. And I think it's so much more valuable to be helpful to people than being cool.
I love that. Yeah, that problem solution. And this is the solution. You need it. You need it now. And that is sometimes hilarious, because it's like, well, duh, George, of course I need that right now. And I think that mentality just relates to so many people. And you feel, oh, thank goodness for that product. Yeah.
Well, I think about Walmart, like, couldn't be a less cool brand. And I'm sorry, I don't want to ruin any relationships with Walmart, but everybody, not everybody, but everybody wants to get into Walmart because they're providing products for everybody. Mm-hmm. And so trying to be helpful for everybody is really important. And so trying to display that in a commercial is really important. But then again, not everybody's ready for Walmart either. And some people want to be a boutique product. And
well, if they know their brand, if they're representing their brand, they'll know exactly where they need to go. And I think that's one of the things we found with Volcanic Retail, helping all the brands that we've helped. A lot of times, if they don't know exactly who they are, it's harder to get the strategy. And I know you've helped a lot with strategy with these brands. So you take them through this day where you're sitting them down and you're getting to know them and all of these steps. And then at what point do you start like realizing what strategy they should be, using to get what they need?
Well, our strategizing begins in the early sales calls, actually. So they talk to our account executives who really do a lot of find out and beginning some of the things.
Before they become your customer?
Before they become a client, and kind of matching up with our ideals. But almost immediately when we sit down, some of the first exercises we do is almost like Shark Tank, like they're pitching us on the company. And then we mirror that back to them, like, this is what you just told me, but this is what I see on your website. Do you see a difference there? And we're usually not, strategically, we have some things that we hold to be true for everybody. But then their unique propositions are more about finding out who they are. And so I feel like that day is really a discovery day of them having those epiphanies and seeing people mirror back to themselves. And I think one challenge that a lot of brands have is there's a lot of talk about values these days. And I think it's really important that you're able to separate and understand the difference between your personal values and your personal ego and your brand's values and your brand's ego and the things that your brand has to care about and the things that it shouldn't care about even though you do.
Right. And as a founder, I can't imagine how difficult, and we've seen that even on our side, it's so hard to separate that because this is who I am and it came out of me and I created it, and to separate those, it would be so difficult.
Yeah, along the way, I have met more than a few companies where I said, like, oh, so you have two businesses, and one's a business that supports your hobby, because this part of your business is losing money, and is fun, and this part of your business is profitable and helpful to other people. Yeah. And that's a hard thing, especially when you're like, my name's attached to this, and you remember, like, actually, no, the consumers don't need to know your name. It's attached to your brand.
Yeah.
And your politics can be aside. Some brands, the politics are a part of what they do, you know? If you're taking, like Gab takes a stance on children's health and your devices, and there's a stand they need to take there. But for most brands, we even have to be careful about decoding the language that we use. So we helped one brand called Clean Cult. It's a fantastic green cleaner, but it's also sustainable cleaner. It's also an all-natural cleaner. Each of those words trigger people a little bit differently. And they came to us convinced that coastal millennials were going to buy their product. They're now in Walmarts across the country. And we said, trust us, try showing this commercial to everyone. Instead of calling it a green cleaner, we talked about how most cleaners are made with petroleum and oil. The same stuff you saw Dawn cleaning ducks off of when you were a kid, that's what they make Dawn out of. And Clean Coat makes all of theirs out of coconut oils. So it's all natural. So if we say soaps without the nasty chemicals, more people can respond to that without politically triggering language. And about 5 months into the campaign, they said, you know who loves our product? 50-year-old women in Wisconsin. Wow. They love it. And they'd kind of politically targeted, like, oh, this is who's going to love sustainably green stuff. But when we said good cleaners that don't have nasty chemicals, it opened their audience to more people.
So cool.
So crazy. It honestly sounds like a day of therapy, you know, where you have to like, am I saying what you're really receiving and say it back to me? And, you know, that's what it sounds like.
Over here, there's a lot going on that
There's
day.
a little bit of it, yeah.
Big
But
deal.
sometimes we'd play games that are like, so you're not so focused on the relationship, but then you take a pause and say, look what just happened here. Like, can we draw conclusions for it?
Yeah.
But that's also when we're also brainstorming together. And as an agency, I think you have a hard time getting clients to make the choices that are in their best interest. I have found, though, if they're there in the brainstorming session and they see the idea born, everybody loves the baby.
That's cool.
If you were there for the birth of the baby. So if the idea's there, like they see it born together,
Right.
So the strategies start in that session. But we'll spend often a month writing, where we go away, because I think a good idea, you also have to let it simmer.
Yeah.
And develop legs and add some things to it.
You give yourself the time in order to get that creative, like, energy.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. I'd love, just before we run out of time, I'm watching it on my end, I'd love to dive into, with your expertise, D2C versus retail and that business to business. At what point do you recommend these brands? You've worked with some large, well-known, very successful brands. At what point did they make that decision? How did they make that decision? Can you just speak to kind of those brands and what that looked like?
Yeah, some brands start retail first, and I think you can do that if you've got a lot of money. But I don't like to. I still think that D2C is the best laboratory. I like to think about companies. It doesn't follow a year, but I kind of group companies like they're in high school. They're in their freshman year, sophomore year, senior year, or junior year, senior year. And in your freshman year, you're really figuring out who you are, right? And that's not the time to go to retail, because you're putting things on shelves across the country. You don't know what sell-through's like. You don't know what people like and what people love and what people... I know so many brands that launched the product intending to do one thing, and then their customers found a different use for it, and they were able to make that pivot. So I really would recommend get through your freshman year first and feel like we have enough sales that this is our product. This is our product. We can make it a little bit better, and you now know how to make it. I want to go to retail once I have a strategy on how to now reduce my COGS and how to, because cash flow is an issue. So you need to have some money in the bank for cash flow for retail. And I would even say have a scaling, not a plan, but you've actually tried scaling out a little bit. So you're no longer making it. Because I've seen $2 million orders crush companies as well. I've seen, so many returns crush companies. So, and D2C, something even as simple as TikTok Shop gives you a great laboratory. Like, oh, we've got 5,000 sales in our belt. What are our most common returns? Can we reduce those issues? But once you have some level of scale, depending on what your product is, you can either target like a boutique market or a very niche market, especially if you want to make a name for yourself. Like if you're entering the shoe market, it's so broad. But if you want to become the great runner shoe, I wouldn't go to Target or Walmart first. You really want to get the credibility of being in those runner store shoes.
Yeah.
So I want. And with our toy brands, we've kind of launched in boutiques first because people tend to have kind of a treasure hunting mentality there first. before we go to Walmart. But those boutiques want to know you're going to be with them for a year or two before you go to the big boxes.
Yeah.
And so you have
Right.
to think about those loyalties and at what point you want to take care of them, but also how to move on to your sophomore and junior year, you know.
Right.
I think that's such a cool image because I've always called it incubation, like when the brands are being incubated and then they graduate and they, you know. But I think that the high school just makes so much sense. It's a really cool way to look at it. This is interesting to me on having the runway, and I told this to you earlier. I really appreciate our expertise is breaking into retail. So it's nice to have someone who sees the D to C side and then can, you know, say what we say, which is, do you have enough runway to be able to invest in yourself? And can we be smart about what retailers we can actually approach first? Because yes, I know that's your wish list retailer, and I agree. One day they are the best one, but if you are a toy brand, look at these hundreds of toy retailers that would love you and build up your, you know, quantities and your anyway. So I really appreciate that.
And the boutiques are going to give you feedback like nobody else is.
Yeah.
And you can take care of them and you can build personal relationships. And, you know, usually the product that you take to the market is not the product you take to retail and is not the product you take to Walmart. And also, you know, the big boxes are going to have ideas of what they want, and you really need to understand they're unique. And when we first approached Walmart we have a kids product for a Pillow Cube, which is fun. I did the first kind of doodles that turned into a product. It's taken thousands of man hours to turn that into an actual product. Everything we had heard is like, oh, they're going to want a deal. They're going to want a deal. They wanted our brand. They wanted to say we have Pillow Cube products, and knowing that it will bring people in, and they may not buy it, but they'll buy other things next to it. And so, yeah, understanding that and understanding, okay, how much could we absorb if there's loss? How are we going to distribute? And a worst case scenario is too many returns or selling out too quickly. What does our forecasting look like, you know? So if you're still working on it off of spreadsheets, you're probably not ready for retail yet. If you're still kind of guessing when you're going to get things in, and they want answers. They want to know if we're out of stock, when we're, you know. And I think you need to take a look at your delivery, you know, whether you're warehousing or going through 3PLs. There's a lot of 3PLs that are fantastic at D2C, but haven't really done the retail thing before. And that's a whole different ballgame too. And so those are some of the questions you really need to be asking early on and to be able to know that you can handle.
There's so many good things that we've covered over here. I'm just like, oh, that's gold mine. That's a gold mine. So I know we're wrapping up soon, but I just want to know, like, from your perspective, using your analogy of freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, what should their budget look like, or what kind of, you know, like where should they be playing when they're a freshman? Like, should they be just doing it on their phone, doing a lot of their own marketing? When should they graduate into using a company like yours, who would come up with some creative messaging and connect them with maybe even other opportunities or new customers?
I feel like that first threshold is like $1 to $3 million in revenue, and when you get there and when you hit a plateau, like a lot of those people are making UGC and using content creators and organic, and that can only kind of get you so far. And you need to also realize that can drive a lot of sales, but it can't build your brand. Your brand can't be built by people in their sweats, you know, and if the message that you want to have out there. And so some of your marketing needs to drive sales today, and as you graduate through each level, you kind of start shifting from performance sales to branding sales. And you need to be able to slowly make, so it's not like distinct. I feel like 1 to 3 million is kind of like that first freshman level. Then I kind of feel 6 to 10 is the next one. And we've helped a lot of brands in that 1 to 3. We have a product that we don't advertise, that if they come to us and they can't afford the big thing, but we feel like they really line up with our values, we want to help them grow into a hero product that we do. You know, I think you need to start investing earlier than you did before. A lot of people are saying AI is the future, and it can do a lot of your stuff, but your hero that carries your brand values, you know, it is expensive, but if you're a marketer and you look at it as a sunken cost instead of an investment with expected returns, then you're going to lose money. You need to think, does it have performance attributes? I don't care what kind of branding you're doing. It needs to have some performance attributes, something you're expecting it to do. But a lot of the entrepreneurs that I've talked to realize, like, every point in your business, you will reach plateaus. And when you reach those plateaus and you're like, I'm doing everything, I'm trying to do more of everything, and I'm not getting any new results, that means it's time to do something new. Mm-hmm. And you have to either look at a new channel and take on some new expertise, but also look at upping your marketing game. Mm-hmm. And that's, we think the internet is a great place for small brands to play big. Because if I can earn views at a cheaper price than Sealy mattresses, that I can overtake them in brand perception really quickly.
Yeah.
I can spend less dollars and get more people to know our name.
Do you think, like, for B2B, there's a retail timeline, and it's quite long currently, and, we hope that changes as our new tech comes out and things like that. But with you said it was an investment marketing, so how is there like a timeline where you should see your investment start paying off, or is it really quick? Like, you'll know as soon as those ads go out?
Yeah, not the day they go out. It's a flywheel, definitely, but definitely in the first month.
In the first month,
the first month, we are seeing big. The big changes like that Ann Coller saw. Was kind of a 5-figure a month to 5 figures a day change we saw in about 45 days.
Wow.
Okay. Not everybody sees that drastic of a result, but like I said, our goal is to move the decimals, not just needles. Mm-hmm. So that's nice with D2C. You can see that. Mm-hmm. With retail, it's harder to see the sell-through.
Yeah, that
right?
ROI is really hard to measure, especially because of the retail timeline. And that was a follow-up to that is like, is there anything that you look for that our brands could look for to know if it was successful? Like, what are the things that you can actually tangibly measure that sometimes aren't that direct ROI?
When they're in B2B already, when they're already in a retailer and you have a campaign going for
Absolutely. I'm going to borrow wisdom from some other people. So
good. I love Dolly's.
Alex MacArthur, who was at Purple, then Kizzik, he likes to say that I think I'm gonna murder this quote, so I'm sorry, Alex, but your purchases follow searching, and so just looking at things like Google Trends and saying like, okay, are people searching more for our product? That's a very good indicator of that people are talking and looking for your product. Mm-hmm. I like to look at a blended ROAS in a month and saying like, okay, if we doubled ad spend here, where did we see revenue come in? But we're, with a D2C world, we get metrics every single day and every single second. You can do brand lift studies on YouTube and on meta properties, which are nice. And if you're getting that brand lift, you should expect to see that in retail. Okay. We like if we can get third-party data from the retailers' search volume, but that's also how we've also picked up retail deals. Mm-hmm. When retailers come to us and like, people are searching us, they're looking, and for most of our brands, we don't even launch onto Amazon until we're seeing a certain volume of searches for our name. Wow. Like, okay, they're searching for us by brand name. Mm-hmm. So I think search volume is still a great way to determine efficacy. Yeah. I mean, it's a finger in the wind metric, but it is, if everybody's talking about your brand, that's a good sign.
That's awesome.
Well, and it just goes to show that brand awareness is really important, but to know who you are as a brand is even more important. And I appreciate that because we're looking for Nielsen data and SPINS data and, what does that sell-through look like on that side? And so it's really interesting to me that it can be searchable. Like, what is that? Would you call it a search?
Yeah, you can see,
Okay.
Google, just their like keyword brand searches, and you can see what over a course of 3 months or 1 month has brand search gone up for you? Is it doubled? Is it tripled? And it gives you kind of a qualitative score. I mean, you can get really in the weeds, and there's some really great analytic people. But I feel like every entrepreneur needs to know what their finger in the wind metrics are, so they don't have to wait for somebody to tell them whether their business is doing well. Mm-hmm. So it might be blended ROAS, and it might be brand search, and a couple things that they can look at every day and check in on what health looks like and see, and it might be a percentage blend and a contribution margin, and there's some other things like that you can look at.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I just really appreciate all of the wisdom. I'd love to know what's next. You've worked with such incredible brands. You're constantly creating new ads and new. I think you're hilarious. And maybe it's because I'm not funny naturally. Like, I'm only funny when I trip or do something silly. So I'm like so impressed with everything you've done. But what's next? What's on the trajectory?
Well, all I got is dad jokes, and I'm funny, but looks aren't everything. So, I think humor is always going to be important, but the type of humor is always changing. What I really see is a rise of omni-channel. People that lived on one, I've said this before, that lived on one channel, they need to be starting their retail plans sooner and earlier. And when you pivot to retail, you need to pivot not only tactics, but strategies for advertising. I think you need to start, when you're pivoting into retail, social can take you a long way, but still traditional media. Once you're everywhere in the country, you need to be everywhere in media. So you need to be thinking about a TV, and you need to be looking at in-store marketing options as well that help people connect the dots. I think there's always stuff that entrepreneurs can do organically, and create the TikToks and tell your company story. And I see a lot of that being cool and happening. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be spending elsewhere, because, like I said, you can't build a brand on that alone. And we have just found that. And there was a recent study done, I think, by Momentum Marketing. They looked at 9,000 brand lift studies. They show the more time that your consumers have spent looking at videos of your brand, whether it's 5 30-second videos or 1 3-minute video, the amount of time matters more than the number of impressions.
Interesting.
So if you can get people spending time with your brand, having meaningful conversations, engagements, and so I think that's more than organic, because organic, you're still victim of the algorithms and the people that find you. And if you want to put yourself in front of people, I think you need to be exploring ways that you can put forth meaningful conversations. And that doesn't mean deep, but that you're offering value to them. And value might be humor, that you're making them laugh. And value can be insight, and value can be a lot of different things. But I'm seeing, smaller operation teams using experts that can help, a brand that has grown in D2C, they can either try to build a retail wing and go through all the hard learnings of finding people, or they can find an expert company who does those things for them. And I see that more and more, and Jay and I have spoken, and a bunch of other entrepreneurs are talking about, I bet we will see $1 billion company in the next 5 years that only has 5 to 10 employees. Because they're using specialist agencies. I think the agency of record is going away. They're using agencies to develop their retail relationships, to develop their online presence, that have really deep expertise in those areas. And so when they want to pivot and introduce a new channel, they don't have to build a new wing of their business. They can bring on people and a team with decades of experience.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I appreciate that, because that's what we do, right? Like, how can we help anybody who needs help breaking into retail? How can we help? How can we assist? And what do you need, right? Is it boutiques or is it mass? And there's probably many channels in between that you also fit in. So I appreciate you saying that too, because it's taken decades to learn what we know, and you're the same.
Well, and I think that a lot of entrepreneurs have regional blindness. And so say you live in Utah and you're like, well, I want to get in Costco and Harmons and Target, but you've never heard of Canadian Tire or Menards and these big companies that just aren't big here.
Right.
And so there's people out there that have relationships with those big retailers and boutiques that are larger.
Hundreds and hundreds of regional chains that your products could be perfect for.
That are huge and people love too.
Our buyer directory blows my mind. Like how many opportunities are out there, and if they don't let their ego get in the way and like what they want their brand to be, but let the brand evolve and be what the people that are buying it believe it to be or want it to be, like then they can open up so many more doors, like I think it's so cool when a brand gets really in sync with like the potential of what their brand could be. And
well, and you can have some really great local and boutique relationships. I love the folks at Teton Toys. They took a chance with us with Stair Slide. They were one of the first, we brought it into
Oh,
them.
you
And
did
like,
stair slide? That's
yeah,
fun.
that's one of,
That's something you would have bought for your kids.
I use our mats right now. I look
Yeah.
at Stair Slide probably every Christmas, and I'm
You
like, at one
do?
point, I need to just buy
Oh,
a Stair
now-
call
Slide.
me,
now
I'll
we-
hook you up.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've been using my
We-
tumbling mats.
We usually have a store here at the University Mall, but this year we probably won't because we're in a lot more. I mean, we're in the
Wow.
local Walmarts now, and I believe we'll be there for. But yeah, they were the first ones to physical retail store to carry us, but they were able to give us feedback, and we were able to stop by and look at the display and ask the salespeople, what are you thinking? So building, it's relationships still matter a lot, and if we could take care of them for a while and hey, we're not going to take it to big box for a while, they were able to help us a lot, and that is part of your growth strategy, and know that your company may change over time, and they may not carry us forever, but I hope those relationships are good enough that we can take in our next product for them,
And I just think this is something that's interesting that I was so excited to talk to you about today is there is such a big difference between D2C and B2B conversations, and truthfully knowing when you're ready to make that transition, but also not forgetting that retail is sometimes, you say this, a little bit in the dinosaur era, and building those relationships because of that.
Then a lot of them have antiquated systems in
Yeah.
every retailer, but you're dealing with things in such a large volume scale, and so you just need to be aware of all the things that come along with that. But I still think keep your think about your D2C store as your laboratory, and that's where you keep your hardcore fans, and deliver something for them, and deliver high value to your retailers as well. But it's going to be a broader product that can serve more people and deliver it in different packaging in different ways.
Yeah, that's so wise.
So wise. And I just, they're telling me I'm out of time, but I am just so appreciative. You have so much wisdom.
Thank you for having me. This has been
This is awesome.
It's so amazing. Such a privilege. And just thank you so much.
Sure
So,
thing. Thank you for having me on.
Yes.
In the fast-paced world of retail, technology can be a transformative force, reshaping the way businesses operate and consumers shop. Is your retail organization leveraging technology to its top capabilities? Evolving your technology capabilities can help enhance visibility into your business, decrease risk of increasing cybersecurity incidents, accelerate productivity with artificial intelligence, and more. Deeply immersed in the consumer products industry, Baker Tilly professionals bring customized solutions that can help you find the right technology fit. Visit bakertilly.com to learn more.